All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining Vicom and Lenovo for this special event, which is our digital transformation virtual whiskey tasting. We are really looking forward to it today. Please note that we will be recording this event today, but just the presentation portion of it. No worries, just the first 30 minutes or so. So again, for those of you who know me, don't know me, my name is Andy Jonak. I am Director of Marketing for Vicom Computer Services, and I'll be co-hosting the event today. Vicom is a full-service multi-cloud infrastructure provider with a 3-decade history of helping our customers drive business innovation through advanced IT solutions, services, and support offerings. And the solutions and services we offer, such as Lenovo's offerings, help firms on their journey of digital transformation. So that's what we do. Today's event is hosted by both Vicom and Lenovo, and we've worked with Lenovo for many years, and they're one of our most important strategic partners. And we represent all of their solutions as part of our portfolio. So co-hosting the event today with me is Danny Dorado, who is a channel manager for Lenovo's data center group. And we've had the pleasure of working with Danny for a very long time, probably going on 15 plus years. So Danny, if you wouldn't mind, if you could please introduce yourself and just say a few words about our partnership.
Thank you, Andy. This is Danny Dorado, like Andy said, channel manager for Lenovo's data center group. It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us today. We got a real treat for you guys. In regards to Vicom, I can't say enough. I've been in this gig about IT 20 plus years now, and I've worked with Vicom about 20 of those years. So I can't say enough about them. I've lived their transformation as a business throughout these 2 decades, how they're resilient to market changes, how they adapt and succeed. And again, that's kind of what we're looking for today. I mean, we're in a really interesting time in the world where we need to adapt or die, this new paradigm and this new change in work style. At Lenovo, we are a channel first company, and that means that all our reps from senior directors and vice presidents to feet on the street are directed to take any new net business through our channel partners. And because of that, Vicom is one of our elite preferred partners. They share the same values, the maniacal focus on customer satisfaction, and really establish a level of trust, which coincides with exactly what our mandate is, to be the most trusted data center partner in the world right now. So with that, thank you so much for joining. Any Q&A, please direct them towards me or Andy, and enjoy the show. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Danny. So now let me introduce the others that are part of our event today. I'd like to introduce Adrian Escobedo. He goes by Esco, and he is with Lenovo, and he is part of what they call their field C-suite team, and he's a digital transformation evangelist. A little bit about kind of what he does. Esco is a senior strategist whose work centers on the collection of data, future trends, and tailored exploration and discovery to help organizations be creative and curious in order to truly innovate. So he is constantly out in front of firms today to discuss digital transformation. He's our featured speaker today, and we're really excited that he's joined us. Also would like to introduce Brian Johnson with the Niche Import Company. Brian is our whiskey expert, and he'll be hosting our whiskey tasting right after our presentations. We're looking forward to it, and we're glad to have Brian with us today. So a little bit of logistics. Let me tell you what's happening for today. So the event is scheduled for 2 hours total. And as I mentioned, we will be recording just the presentation portion of our session, the first 30 minutes or so. Presentations, you figure, will take around 30 minutes, and then we will have time at the end, the presentations for questions, and then move on to our whiskey tasting with Brian. But if you do have questions during the event, we have parked some time at the end for Q&A, but you can also feed them up through the chat, as we mentioned a bit earlier, and anytime throughout the presentation, and we'll make sure they go ahead and get addressed. So all attendees will be muted throughout the presentation, but everybody can unmute when we get to the Q&A. Also, if we ask everyone to keep their cameras off. You can keep your cameras off during the presentation portion, but when we get to the whiskey tasting, we're going to ask everybody to turn it on. So we hope that you find the event fun and the information presented today to be intriguing and, most importantly, useful, as what we're discussing today is something we see as so important to the firms we are working with and talking to right now, which is what is digital transformation and what does it mean specifically to them and to their firms. So with that said, thank you again for joining us today, and let's get going. So IT and business environments today are increasingly complex. Of course, we all know it, especially with what is happening today with the pandemic and with so many working at home. It means firms need to look for new ways to be successful, new ways to conduct business. It also means that IT has become plays a much more important role in helping firms to be successful today. And as Esko is going to discuss during his presentation, what's happening today is becoming the new normal, whether we like it or not. So what is digital transformation, right? Because the term is used so ubiquitously today. And what does it mean for you and your organization? This is where Vicom and Lenovo can help. And it's what we're going to talk about and focus on today. So now what I'd like to do is I'm going to turn it over to Esko from Lenovo to help us really unpack digital transformation and what it means. So Esko, I'm going to go ahead and turn control over to you and give you the ball.
All right, I'm going to try to figure out how to share the screen. Andy, thank you for that. And looking forward to hammering home some of the points that Danny brought up. You know, Vicom is a great partner of ours. And when he said we share a lot of the same practices and discussions, wow, you're going to see that in spades here. Got the ball. Let's see if I can share the correct screen. And I should be sharing. Give it a second. Give me a thumbs up. Whose camera's on? No one's camera's on. Let me know when you can see or what you can see. I'm hoping that I'm sharing a market news. What is the world telling us today with Lenovo on the right-hand side? Is that what you guys see?
You're good.
Yeah. Fantastic. As Andy said, and as Danny said, my name is Esko. I am the digital transformation evangelist for the Field C-Suite team. This is a great group of guys that I get to work with. And to Andy's point, we talk to from Polk County, USA, all the way up to major CPG customers and what they're doing. And we're seeing a lot of similarities. We're seeing a lot of the same things that are business challenges. And that's actually what we're going to focus on. While I am a technical guy, I've been in the IT sales world for about 20 years. I talk about business and I talk about getting business accomplished with technology. And my team focuses on business innovation while embracing technology transformation and how we can do that today. So what we're hearing in the market is actually, I think we're used to it now. This whole thing started in March. And what was the new normal, I would have to say is the now normal. I mean, change at this time is obvious. Our business and our customers are expecting it. In fact, our teams want to get involved in it. Our schools, the way they're going to market is totally different now, and their need to embrace change. They've started to make it easier to have a personalized curriculum. Our businesses are starting to recognize it and call it out quicker. Cost evaluating is no longer a nice to have, but a necessity. IT becomes a key pivot agent where it wasn't before. We, all of us, need to support, embrace, and be involved in this change. Today's twister is the pandemic, COVID-19. Yesterday's twister was the collapse of the housing bubble. 9/11 before that, all the way back to the stock market crash of 37. We've learned a lot from each one of these. We've learned how to protect ourselves differently in each one, but at every company, there was a person or a group whose tenacity was the foundation for those recoveries. Every time we refer back to a financial collapse, a question mark in how we were going to take on the next day, we've learned from it. We've evolved. We've made changes in the way we do business. And the pandemic that we're in the middle of today is no different. We're learning. We're evolving. When this first hit in March, everyone was talking about recovery. And I think as the now normal has replaced the new normal, we're seeing this as a renaissance. A lot of the ideas that we were bringing to the table from an IT perspective that were kind of pushed aside because we didn't see the need, the business didn't see the need, or we couldn't get them funded. A lot of those ideas are now actually getting a lot of airtime. Hey, what can you do for us? What can you do for us? Now, in IT, we've been a little nervous. You know, I don't know that I'm going to take another idea because the last 7 ideas that I brought to the table, it was like, we don't have time for that. We don't have the budget for that. You know, do more, do it with less, and your little dog too, you know, but we're not going to give you any more money. We're not going to give you any more people. I want you to make sure you're curbing spending. These are the things that we've heard in the past. And in fact, from a process perspective, you know, we've seen a lot of those things as well. Apologies for the dog in the background. UPS must be here. But we're now getting the appetite to see that change. We're now getting the appetite to manage that change, and IT is getting their fair share. But there's a push and pull. There's a dichotomy here in business today that becomes very interesting. The business in the past has always pushed stuff down on IT, where, believe it or not, and we're creative thinkers in IT, we've actually been able to pull the business forward. Core IT has always been kind of in this closet in some cases, in a small little dark room off in the corner, while the business was making decisions on the other end and then pushing stuff down to IT. Why is that? IT is the lifeblood, the cornerstone, the foundation of every company. Yet we only get 3% of the dollars that companies bring in. I think that's interesting. No one yells at us when the email works. No one yells at us when everything electronic is running. But when stuff falls down, that's when they start understanding that IT, has a limit. How are we enabling the business to be successful now that the dynamic has actually changed? How are our customers going to market? How are they buying? IT is the enabler. IT innovation is actually at the foundation of how we can get closer to our customers, how they're going to market, how they're buying, their needs, how they want to interact with us. IT is known for core business functions. Again, I call out email. I call out everything electronic. Our best day in IT was when no one called us, when we didn't get any net new trouble tickets, and that project board was something that we could focus on and knock down. But again, the world has changed. Business has changed. We need to squeak out more profitability. We need to squeak out more efficiencies. We need to put the clipboard down. How are we doing that? We're going to do that with IT. We're going to do that with tools that are in place. We're going to get closer to the data. We're going to understand where the data is, and we're going to understand how to capitalize on what that data can tell us. In some cases, many companies are finding new LOBs, new lines of business within the data that they've always had housed in-house. How are they taking that data and making it work for them? Our hero today is IT. In fact, Gartner calls out the fact that we need to learn from the quick innovation that IT has enabled us to do, and we need to capitalize on it. We need to enable our employees to be successful. We need to improve experience, whether it's customer-facing experience or whether it's workforce-facing experience. Our customers could be internal, our customers could be external. How are we making both successful and giving them both what they need as the world starts to evolve? Vaccines are present. Vaccines are out there. And we're going to start seeing the world change. We're going to return back to business. We're going to return back to something. And honestly, IT is at the base of that, the foundation of that. So how are we doing that? How are we having this conversation internally? How are we talking amongst ourselves, between Vicom and Lenovo and other business needs? How are you having those types of conversations? I'm sure cloud has come up. I'm sure analytics has come up. But are we looking at cloud for the sake of going to the cloud, or are we looking at cloud for what it offers? It's a delivery mechanism. It's a protocol. It's a way to get the applications out into the appropriate place. That is the success of cloud. But as we start to operationalize our business, are we understanding where those priorities could be, where those priorities should be? And are we making sure that we're taking advantage of all of those places that it can live? That's where analytics comes into place. Now, I know you see AI on there as well. And AI tends to mean artificial intelligence. And as we talk to some of our customers, the old school thinkers, they hear AI, artificial intelligence, and they're like, wait a second, you're taking my job away from me. Not necessarily. Augmented intelligence is actually where we want our customers to focus. This is where you take the tenure of somebody who's been at a company for quite some time and balance it against the analytics and AI models that we've built to make sound, efficient decisions to help our companies get to market quicker, increase profitability, retain the talent that we already have, and improve customer experience. It's that augmented intelligence that's going to supersede the artificial intelligence when we built models in 2019. Every artificial intelligent model that we built from a buying perspective was broken in March of this year. It's that augmented intelligence that's going to help us make intelligence decisions. It's also edge computing where we're going to be able to make that decision. Now, let me explain edge computing in a slightly different fashion. When I heard edge computing explained to me the best. It was actually by our president, Kevin Hooper. He got up on stage and he said, let's look at a Tesla. Tesla has, the autonomous driving. Now, a lot of that is compute power. A lot of that is compute decision. And a lot of that compute is local. If a ball rolls out into the street and we know there's a child coming in behind that, we want that Tesla right then and there to make an instantaneous decision to brake. However, all of the braking information that Tesla gathers and sends back to the core data center is what's going to be used to generate the service ticket. Hey, go get your brakes changed. Two different types of computing needed in two different places for two very important reasons. If you're marketing and you're sales, you want that core data center computing. However, if you're needing to make line changes, if you're needing to make quick decisions on how your customers are seeing a regional or environmental aspect, that's where you want edge computing to come into play. And as a service refers to how Vicom can help you operationalize your business and put tools that Lenovo has on the table to in place. So that way we're looking at, again, being more profitable as we're delivering compute process to our customers, our end customers. So let's jump into a couple of terms. Supply chain. That's actually from end to end. Think back of the house. Think out of the house where you have a truck back up to a bay door, back of house where that way you're actually producing that raw good, changing that raw good into the product, to the front of the house. That's supply chain. Parlay in there manufacturing, which is back of the house, and logistics, that's getting the trucks in and out of the yard and maybe to and from where they need to go. And then having a data management strategy in place where you basically have all of these silos of data and you're able to consolidate them into a single source of truth. So that way your business can make the appropriate decision. It's not that marketing has its own data puddle and sales has its own data lake and engineering has its own data pool, and combining all of those data sets to be one data warehouse. It's actually making sure it's the right data in the central location so that way everyone has the right, accurate, and timely data to make business decisions. Some of that business decision is going to come from the line. Some of that business decision is going to come into processes that we repeat over and over and over. How can we make those decisions quicker? How can we make those decisions so that way it affects our business appropriately? Obviously for profit reasons, but also from a timing perspective. I know I have these components in-house. I can build these products faster right now with this window. Let me make that decision now to take advantage of the time where I have my third shift in front of the business line, the product line, the manufacturing line. Application modernization is where I insert cloud. This is actually where we're looking at all of our applications, and before we actually just lift and shift it into the cloud, is it cloud ready? Is this what the cloud is really going to be able to do for me from this application's benefits to our business? Is the cloud the right place for it? Is the data set that it's going to pull from in the cloud, or is it local? Ingress, egress charges, constantly running, not constantly running. How are we evaluating the application and where we want it to live from a cost-effective nature to where it could live so that way it's doing the business good rather than doing the business bad? And then experience. I love talking about experience, and every article that I've read today revolves around customer experience and the personalization of customer experience. But to me, workforce experience or work from anywhere is also something that we need to focus on as companies. And how do we put those tools in place to deliver the best personalized experience to our internal customers as well as our external customers? Everything that you see on the screen in a darker blue is a Lenovo package solution that we already have wrapped up, engineered, hardware compatibility list and software compatibility list checked and validated from an engineering perspective, ready to go to get you to market as quickly as we possibly can. And Vicom is going to help us deliver that to you efficiently to meet your business needs. So we have those solutions ready to go and ready to deliver with any one of these facets. But let's take customer experience, for example. Let's double click in there. And this is actually one of my favorite slides that I get to talk about. Customer experience. Sit back for a second. How are your customers needing to buy from you? How are their decisions changing? Where are they getting information from that's actually going to change their decision? How are you getting in front of some of those decisions so that way your customers make a decision for you and not for your competitor? What are the tools that we have in-house today where we could capitalize on the analytics that our customers are actually providing to us through our omni-channel type apps? So let me break down what omni-channel is. Omnichannel has a lot of facets in it, a lot of different pieces. There's brick and mortar, there's web, there's obviously mobile. How are we taking advantage of those? How are we delivering to those? How are we managing our CRM or ERP that's gathering a lot of that information? How are we taking a look at Twitter, Facebook, and the press to understand what our customers are saying about us, and then to potentially market around those? Everything that you see highlighted here is a solution that Lenovo has. From our point of sale systems, our smart point of sale systems, we've got a package solution there, again, to get you to market quicker. From our communications platforms, for those of us that have to work from anywhere, all the way to our endpoints, our new Fold is a brand new notebook that is one screen throughout. So it's a notebook-sized device that is one screen. To our edge computing devices all the way down there at the end. We've got a solution to get you from anywhere in your IT to the other side of your IT. Again, get to market quicker, increase profitability, and retain IT talent. From an ERP perspective, we're second to none there. We have SAP and HANA as resources or as engineering things to tout. We live with SAP, we use SAP, they use Lenovo. So the relationship is there. And then our solutions that we've engineered, the Think Agile products, are actually validated to that extent as well. So we've taken what Lenovo can do from an engineering perspective, packaged it up with a bleeding edge SDI provider, and then gotten the certification so that way you can deliver a streamlined service to your business and have the infrastructure managed from a single click. Data warehouse becomes something that we need to take advantage of. A lot of our data sets that live inside of our environments are actually things that we need to be taking advantage of. We were talking to a tire company, and this was a tire retailer. What if they could take the information that they're getting from their customers through their omni-channel experience and able to then take that back to the tire manufacturer and say, hey, you told me this is a 50,000 mile tire. I'm actually getting these back at the 30,000 mile mark, and I've got a lot of them coming back. I've got the data here. Let's talk about our price. Let's talk about how we're negotiating the contract. Let's talk about fulfillment. And let's talk about the data that I have concrete that I can now use to have a conversation with that particular vendor. This is where data warehouse and data mining and understanding where all those packages come into play. And then the solutions that you can build on top of those. This is actually where we help ourselves get to market quicker and increase profitability. From a supply chain perspective, I can't say enough about how Lenovo's supply chain in itself, which was ranked at top 15 by Gartner this past year. This is actually how we were able to get products out to our customers during the pandemic, in time with the pandemic, as we were needing to enable a lot of workforces, a lot of students, and we were able to deliver that. We had these things in place, and when the fit hits the shan, we were able to deliver on all of those things because we had these mechanisms in place from a supply chain perspective, from supplier through manufacturing all the way to delivering. I can't say enough about AI and how that's going to change the world. This is something that we want to focus on, and we want to enable those players and partners who want to get involved in it as quickly as they possibly can. When you start taking advantage of the data that you have in-house and putting smarts behind it, and then having it learn on every transaction, you actually develop your own type of intellectual property that gets you the market share that you need. And AI is going to be the place where that starts. Putting those mechanisms in place is something that Vicom and Lenovo can help you out with. I'm going to grab another one of these bullets here, and I'm going to talk about, let's talk about manufacturing, logistics, and supply chain. Last diagram for you, but this is actually where the rubber meets the road, in my opinion. Probably one of my second favorite slide to talk about is a simple warehouse. Now, IT is here, and we all know it's here, but how do we improve it? How do we make it better? How do we take bleeding edge technology and put it in place so that way we can accomplish what the business needs from a KPI perspective? Let's start with 5G. Private 5G inside the warehouse allows us to get as much data as we possibly can. Think computer vision now, not analog sensor, and get it to where it needs to be so that way we can make decisions on it. Remember, we talked about braking when that ball rolls out in the street. What if we can make line changes at the right time during the day because we have the right personnel in place and we've done the analytics on that and we're able to make those snap decisions? 5G is going to be the protocol for us to be able to deliver that across the infrastructure. So let's start with a simple place. Let's start with HVAC. Well, okay, HVAC, you set it, you forget it, you move on. Well, Those are dollars that are ticking away. Movie theaters have started to pre-cool and not cool the theaters based on the time a movie has actually been in play. And what I mean by that is they make the most money off of a movie within the first 2 or 3 weeks. So they know that those theaters that have those movies playing, they can set a certain temperature range for those screen times. Well, they also know that they're going to get fewer bodies, even though they still have the movie in the theater, they're going to get fewer bodies in place. So the temperature adjustment per theater can be set. This has curbed a lot of costs inside of the theaters. Why can't we do this at a manufacturing facility and take advantage of, we know how many people are coming to work. Why don't we cool the space appropriately? And then regionally, how are we taking into account what the weather's doing to then set those temperatures accordingly? Take it a step further. Your employees badge in, badge out. We've had customers reach out to us and say, hey, can you set up an infrastructure that takes advantage of thermal cameras? For obvious reasons. When my employee badges in, I need to be able to take a temperature of that employee as they're badging in. Combining a camera with thermal sensing and the badge reading then allows us to take that data and understand how that employee is doing and provide a secure environment for the rest of the employees that are coming in place. With cameras inside of the facility, I can then manage and map how many employees are standing collectively in a certain space. And from a security perspective, if I need to break up a group of 10 or more here in North Carolina, that would be important. That would be something that we can provide. Those are systems that we can put in place, again, for the personalized workforce experience. The easiest one is probably the logistics side. Where's this truck in our yard? How far away is it from the bay door? If I bring it to this bay door, is it a short drive? Is it a long drive? Those are analytics. How about maintenance? How about when was the last time we got an oil change? When was the last time we changed the tires? Those cost-effective measures that promote fuel efficiency and longevity of the vehicles are something that we need to consider. These are all places where technology can play. Obviously, on the logistics side, on the other side of the house, going out the door, we want to send our trucks out the right way to the right customer, and we want them to make as many right turns as we possibly can. How are we using analytics in that particular place right there, in that particular space? From an inventory perspective, that one's obvious. Take your CRM, take your ERP, take your marketing, take your sales data, put all that together and match it against your supplier data. And now we can figure out what inventory needs to look like from a build out perspective and from a supply perspective to get that raw good in house. We can see what all those look like. All of these are analytic points that we're happy to help you with, that we're happy to talk through and get those in the appropriate place at the appropriate time. But here's the next level. Digital video, computer vision is now becoming more and more important. You combine that digital video with AI, and then you're able to figure out what your inventory is. And I said, put down the clipboard, and I meant put down the clipboard. How much time would we save if we didn't have to have an employee walk through and take stock with a clipboard? How accurate would our dwell time numbers be if we had a camera that was able to sweep through and see where our customers are standing? All of these details can be done with AI and analytics. All of these tools are in place with technology. All of these things get our business more market share and more profit. The easiest one on here, I think, is probably the line. Where are we putting sensors? How are we measuring those sensors? Are they beyond analog? Because remember, analog sensor is on, off, yes, no. What if we were to change that to a digital sensor? What if we were to insert infinite amount of detail that we could put on that camera as to how that product is rolling out, what time it's rolling out, what temperature it's rolling out, who's doing good work, who's doing not so good work, and make decisions quickly and make line changes where appropriate. That's where we introduce edge computing. And then where needed, we can actually introduce cloud computing into that model. So that way we can make longer term decisions, more strategic decisions, and those go back to the supply chain. AR VR is actually something where one of our larger CPG customers reached out to us. He said, hey, listen, I know you guys have the goggle thing. I know you guys have you guys own Motorola, the AR VR goggles. Is there a way for me to take a senior technician and have him sit down and manage several junior technicians regionally to go do repairs on the line? Absolutely. We can help with that. He said, the only qualification I need is I have a problem with noise inside the manufacturing warehouse. That's where we need to test it out. That's where we need to figure out how we can do this. This helps us curb costs. A lot more junior apprentice are much more cost-effective employees than that senior technician that's sitting in the room, and he can manage several of them through the use of intelligent tools. take all of these places where we can use technology to move forward, move them into, take that data and move it into a data center, do smarter things from an AR perspective, AR, accounts payable, accounts receivable. Hey, do I do net terms 30 on this one? Do I do net terms 120? Do I get free money if I build this because of the contract that I have with this vendor and I can sell it faster than I can pay for it? And that's free money for me. How are we analyzing all of those things? Between Lenovo and Vicom, those types of models are going to be things that we can help you build out to save time and to get to market quicker. So I'm going to pause real quick for questions because I've got pictures of the kids and why Lenovo here that I'm going to close out with. Andy, how am I doing so far?
You're good. Another couple minutes, maybe another 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
Finish up, please. Thanks.
Sure. We can wrap it up. We'll do that right now. So why Lenovo? This is our corporate vision. This is what the data center group is trying to put out there. We want to be the most trusted data center partner, and we want to empower our customers' intelligent transformation. And we're also helping solve humanity's greatest challenges. We have helped the largest public university, NYU, get to a liquid-cooled HPC environment 5 years ahead of their models. Through our engineering, through our delivery, through our technical aptitude, we were able to deliver to them something that they saw that was 5 years out. And the reason why NYU is important is because they're doing a lot of the COVID testing, and that's where solving humanity's greatest challenges comes into play. Humanity's greatest challenges actually revolve around how we're providing that personalized customer experience to our internal customers as well as our external customers. So I'm going to ask you, are you meeting your customers where they are and where they need to be? Are you enabling your business to be successful? I think Brian's ready to get us to step up to the bar, but let's ask those questions of ourselves. And if you need help, obviously, between Vicom and Lenovo, we're happy to help you out. Andy, that's it.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Esko. Great presentation. Can you just make me host again, please?
I am
Send the ball back to me.
I'm gonna work on that right now.
Okay.
I believe you have the ball, sir.
I have the ball. Excellent, guys. So give me one quick second here. We got two quick things to wrap up, guys, and then we'll hand it over to Brian. So again, Esko, great presentation. Thank you. So let me just take one quick minute, everyone, just to tell you who we are, remind you who we are. So the organization that we're part of is Vicom Computer Services. And Vicom, as I mentioned earlier, is a full-service multi-cloud infrastructure provider that helps firms with their IT and their cloud infrastructures to help them wherever they might be throughout their digital transformation journey. Our domains of expertise include IT infrastructure, multi-cloud solutions, networking, operations and service management, enterprise network and endpoint security, staff augmentation, professional and managed services. Hang on one second, everyone. Okay. Professional and managed services as well. And our solutions and offerings, bottom line is they can help organizations wherever they sit in regards to the maturity level of their IT environment, their solutions, or their overall needs. So that's a little bit about Vicom and what we have to offer. So now what I'd like to do, everyone, I do want to open it up for questions. So I always like to park some time at the end. So if there's any questions of either Vicom or Lenovo, please go ahead and unmute yourself. Being that we are using Zoom, we can't unmute everybody. So if you do have any questions, please go ahead and ask away. Okay, let me see. We have somebody.
Yeah, Christian wants to know why you're hiding behind why you aren't camera high yet. Good question, Christian. Way to kick that off. I appreciate that.
It's a great point. Absolutely. Way to go, Christian. Thank you for reminding me. That's great. So
I've got a question for the group. I mean, are these challenges what are resonating? We're talking to customers from the smallest to the largest, and believe it or not, we're seeing a lot of rinse and repeat. I need to get to market quicker. I need to increase profitability. I need to help my business, enable technology to be successful. Or these things, what's going on in your environment? Do you hear those things?
Sure, that's probably the case, Esko.
That's what I'm gathering to. Everything you said, Esko, yes, all of that.
No, I'm sure. Okay. Well, guys, one last chance. If anybody has any questions, you can put them up through chat like Christian did. Or let's see. Hold on. What was that?
Survivability and supporting our remote users.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, and this is where it becomes interesting. That's a great point, Christian. Andy, there are services that you guys offer that help us understand where we are at. It's kind of a temperature check of sorts. Okay, do we have all the right things in place? Where are we spending too much time? There are tools that Vicom has to help with those types of conversations to make sure that where we are investing our time, because budgets are tight, that it's the efficient way to do that. And then if there's creative ways at expanding that budget to maybe improve concepts and efficiencies, those are things that we can introduce as well. Yeah, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We help customers across the board on that, whether it's looking at the tools they need for their endpoints, which was a big deal, right, as pandemic came down, helping them get those things spun up right away, but not just the tools, making sure that the end users, that IT is efficient, being able to do that, but also being able to come in and take a look at how firms are using their technology in specific ways for specific business reasons. But again, focused on the technology portion. We are not business analysts in what we do. We take a look at the technology, make sure, is it at the maturity level it needs? Is it the right tools? Does it perform the function that it's supposed to do and allow you to be more efficient? Or is it just a pain in the butt that people complain about? And so those are the types of things we can absolutely help with, from the end user all the way to the back end on the data center and everything in between.
So Christian, as an aside, and you bring up an interesting point there, introducing new tools to support our remote users. What we have done here at Lenovo is we've actually introduced a lot of, and not virtual happy hours, just business update hours. We have a weekly meeting with the president of North America DCG, 30 minutes. It's not a big time, but he gives us the opportunity to visit with him, get his understanding of the business. We have guest speakers accordingly, but it also has made him more approachable. So from a business perspective, if the boss is using it and I see the boss every day, he becomes a person. And then because of the fact that we're using these tools for these cadence type interactions, that has also given our sellers, his internal customer, the ability to kind of work through their tools and get used to using those. And that's actually where we help our end users use the tools more frequently. So we give them a reason to jump into, we use Teams at Lenovo. We give them a reason to jump into Teams. We give them a reason to steal sharing back and forth, to pass the ball around like Andy and I were doing a second ago. And it's also a little bit of habits inside of the company to help your new users embrace those tools.
Excellent. Great point. Okay. Excellent. Well, everyone, if unless anybody has any additional questions, we'll go ahead and
I'll be around for the tasting. So if you got more business questions or booze questions, between Brian and I, we'll be able to handle one of them.
Absolutely. Okay, guys. So let me go ahead and just wrap things up and hand it over to Brian. So listen, everyone, thank you for attending our presentation today. We really hope you found the information useful. And as I mentioned before, relevant to your organization and what you're doing today, especially in today's challenging times. If you're interested in hearing anything more about what Vicom does or what Lenovo does, please feel free to reach out to me. Or if you happen to be working with anybody at Vicom, your account manager. So my contact info is on the slide, and it's also in the emails that you received from me as well. So we have one more quick, let me just make, of course, Christian, of course. So my contact info is here for those that might need, again, in the email that we sent over. So as I get ready to turn it over to Brian to host our whiskey tasting, we want to thank you all for joining us today, number one, but also considering both Vicom and Lenovo. So yeah, everyone have a great day, and please continue to stay safe during these times.